Hi, this is the first video for the probability, the chance and data topic, which is an external at the end of the year. Um, the idea of these videos is to replace teaching, but with the added benefit that if there's something you're not sure about, you can stop, rewind, and all those sorts of things. So there'll be a mixture of me telling you to stop, complete a task from your workbook, and then moving on. If for whatever reason you need access to your workbook, there should be some PDF worksheets which you can access as well. Right, so we're going to look at probability today. So probability is the chance of an event occurring. So an event is anything, any action or any something to happen. Commonly used words to describe events in probability. Words like impossible, likely, even, likely, and certain, and that tends to be the scale. Anything is either it's between impossible or certain. Nothing is more probable than certain. Nothing is more less probable than impossible. So it's somewhere within those words. So we should be able to look at any event and use those words to describe the chances of it happening. On the following slides, we're going to have different events, and you've got to try and use one of those words to match it. So what you need is maybe in your workbook beside you, list the numbers 1 to 6, and I just want the word that describes that event. So the first event we're going to look at is eating junk food and avoiding exercise will make you lose weight. So you've got to choose, is that impossible, unlikely, even, likely, or certain? Make your choice and write it down. If for any reason I'm going through these too fast, you can always stop and pause to complete that before the end. So the next one, eating 5 fruit and vegetables per day helps prevent disease. Again, impossible, unlikely, even, likely, certain. A good attendance at school has a positive effect on achievement. Number 4, the next baby to be born in Canterbury is going to be a boy. Number 5, January the 12th falls on a Tuesday in 2016. And number 6, I'll be able to speak fluent Russian in the next 5 minutes. So pause the video, make sure, go back if you need to, make sure you've got 6 answers, and then we'll go through the answers once you're ready, and you can unpause the video. Right, so answers. Question 1. Eating junk food and avoiding exercise will make you lose weight. We know because of the research that that is unlikely, that in fact it has the opposite effect, making you gain weight. Now, the interesting thing is that at that end of the spectrum, there's either impossible or unlikely. We don't say it's impossible because there could be the odd person who can eat junk food and lose weight because of how their body works or anything like that. But what we can't definitively say that it will happen to all people, so we say it's unlikely that it will happen, but it's not impossible. Question 2, it's the other end of the spectrum, so it is likely. We can't say it's certain because, again, some people can eat 5 fruit and vegetables per day will get a disease, so it's not certain. Number 3, good attendance at school has a positive effect on achievement. May have, it certainly is more likely that you can do better, and there's certainly a lot of evidence to say people who have a high attendance have a high do well in their classes, but we can't say that it's certain. The next baby boy born in Canterbury is going to be a boy, so we know there's a 50% chance of that happening. So it's not unlikely, it's not likely, it's an even chance. Number 5, so maybe you did a little bit of research and had a look at 2016, January the 12th, and it was a Tuesday. So we can say that that's certain, that it most definitely was a Tuesday. There are no other options. Okay, there is no chance of it not happening. It's a bit like flipping a coin and getting a heads and a tail is certain. There's no other option other than heads or tail, or rolling a dice and getting from 1 to 6. You're not going to get 7, 8, 9, or 10. And the last one, impossible. It will be impossible for me to speak Russian in the next 5 minutes. And it's always slightly complicated with probability. There tends to be sort of sci-fi time travel technology that's invented that doesn't exist. So we could be in the Matrix where you get a USB, plug it into my head, and I suddenly know Russian, or any of those situations. So we do say it's impossible. There is no other option. There was no chance of me learning Russian in 5 minutes. So with these different words, there's obviously more words associated with probability, things like including very likely or very unlikely, extremely likely, and they're all sort of different grades. So with all these different words, it's not surprising that mathematicians came up with a more measurable scale that you could do calculations with. And that is a scale between 0 and 1, with 0 being impossible and 1 being certain. And obviously you've got unlikely and likely in between, and even chance in the middle. And it just means that, so if you have a probability of 0.3, that is, we know that that's unlikely, but we also know that it's more unlikely than something that is 0.4. So that scale becomes less subjective and a bit more measurable. So what your first task from your Walker book, the exercise, is to take the words that are in the list at the top there, and the ones we just talked about, and put them in the scale where they'll fit. Now, there will be some situations where more than one word can fit. One word can fit in more than one slot. But what you have to do is think about words like slight chance. How does that compare to things that are very unlikely? Is very unlikely less of a chance than slight chance? Or it is improbable less than very unlikely? And those sorts of things. So spend some time using those words to try and put them into a scale, of that scale between 0 and 1, and see where you end up. So pause the video and then we'll go through the answers. Okay, so moving on. These are the answers that you could have had. You can see there's clearly things like very likely and likely and things like that, where they are in more than one part. So it should all fit. But what you should see is that they've said that impossible, no chance, no way is less likely than very unlikely, slight chance, impossible. All right, and that's why this number scale is very important, because it becomes less important to worry about the actual language when we can actually measure it. So, next thing is to think about how do we write probabilities using this scale. Okay, so the key thing is probabilities can be written as fractions or decimals. You can convert between them using your calculator, and when you want to compare probabilities, you should always use decimals. It's much easier to compare a fraction than to a decimal. So the example I've got here is to convert these probabilities to decimals and state which is the most likely. Now, I think I made a mistake when I put this together because I actually meant for that to be 2/3. So I'm going to change that now. So the key thing is when you've got 3/4 and you want to convert it into a decimal, is it's 3 divided by 4. So take the numerator and divide by the denominator. Okay, and you get 0.75. The other one is that we've got 2 divided by 3, which is equal to 0.66 recurring. Some people can round that to 2 decimal places or 3 decimal places, whatever you like, by saying that it's like that. But the little dot just means that the 6 reoccurs. All right. So then we've now got those probabilities converted into decimals, and we've now got to decide which is the most likely, which is really easy. Just work out which is the highest number, which in this case is 0.75. So it is 3/4 is the most likely. So you've got a task to do and complete for that on page 8 of your workbook. So that's the end of the video. Once you've finished doing that, if the next lesson is available, you could start if you wanted to.